Hey there Starks, Lannisters, and Targaryens. Welcome to Game of Thrones Power Rankings, the show where I assess who is currently winning the Game of Thrones. It's episode 4 of Game of Thrones. The list really got shook up last week with our introduction to King's Landing. But this week only sees one large change and one other player solidifying their spot. After taking Tyrion Lannister as a prisoner, Catelyn Stark edges her way back into the top 10 of the power rankings. Though she does this more out of spite than strategy, she does have Tyrion. This is valuable because Tyrion Lannister is, well of course, a Lannister. And as we all know, Lannisters pay their debts, which means that if they want to get their son back, they may pay a handsome ransom, or Catelyn can start demanding information from the Lannisters, including who is behind this dagger and who wanted to kill her son. The reason she goes above Tywin Lannister is because we don't really know what's going on with Tywin entirely. All we know is that the crown is in debt to the Lannisters. But with Catelyn in control of one of the Lannisters, I do think that gives her the slight edge. Moving further down the list to the number 3 and number 2, we have Peter Baelish and Eddard Stark. In a very long scene, we saw Peter teaching Ned about the ways of King's Landing, about how everyone is listening, how everyone has spies employed by them, whether that is Varys, whether that is Cersei, or whether that is Peter himself. And the scene ends with Peter actually saying, hey, the best thing you can do is not trust me, or by extension, trust anyone in King's Landing.
But Baelish, perhaps I was wrong to distrust you.
Distrusting me was the wisest thing you've done since you climbed off your horse.
Now, of course, for a man like Ned, this will earn him a lot of trust and a lot of points in Eddard's eyes. Though the real lesson is that Peter wants Ned to not trust anybody. With this scene, I feel like Ned actually would want to put more faith into Peter going forward. So while this doesn't put Peter above Ned Stark necessarily, this does lock him into that third position, right behind Eddard, who has the most influence over the king, and just making sure he's in the right place at the right time, which Littlefinger is very good at doing. Now, continuing with Ned, we see him going on his investigation for finding out what is going on with Jon Arryn and his assassination. What was he investigating? We see he finds the scrolls of all the previous leaders, all of their kin, all of their family line, and he's starting to find out what's going on. And he finds one of Robert's bastards working in the steel mills on, I think it's called the Streets of Steel in King's Landing, where he meets Gendry.
Look at me. Find anything? King Robert's bastard son.
Gendry is one of Robert's bastards, which means he would technically have a better claim to the throne than that of the Lannisters, who at this point we suspect don't have children who are exactly legitimate. All of the children have gold hair, and Robert has black hair, and that doesn't seem very right. But we do have another thing from Jon Arryn that we heard from Maester Pycelle, and that was that the last thing that he kept saying over and over is, the seed is strong. Meaning, I think, of course, that, Robert's seed is strong, and that if his seed is strong and he's making all these black-haired babies all over King's Landing, why is it that the royal children all have gold hair? We will see more about this in the coming episodes, but it does put Eddard in a very good spot in terms of his influence, or how much he can shake things up in King's Landing, because he has very, very, very vital information that Robert would actually listen to, because Eddard is one of his best friends ever. And that's this week's power rankings. Catelyn edges out and gets herself back into the top 10. Eddard and Peter are starting to discover who the other is. Eddard is going further and further into his investigation, but let's see what happens in the coming weeks. Of course, this list will change over time as the season progresses, but what do you think of this episode's power rankings? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, peace, love, and 7 blessings.